Can you hear me, Kama?
On wires.
There, I
Hello?
can hear you. Thank you.
Good, right, as I said, gnawing on wires. That's right. What?
All this meeting to order, you all rise for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, no adjustments to the agenda?
Correct.
Okay, public comment. This is where everybody's super nice to each other. Hope everybody got out and voted or is going to right after the meeting.
Yes.
Is there any public comment tonight? Okay. Seeing none. Approval of minutes. Kevin? Gregory?
I move to approve the minutes of the school board meeting on October 8th, 2024, barring any errors or omissions.
Second.
Kevin now. Any discussion? All in favor? 5-1. Okay, motion for the payroll warrant, please. Kevin L.
Like to move to direct the superintendent of schools to authorize payment by the town treasurer to each party listed herein, the sum set against each name contained in the school payroll warrant, May 1st, 25-7, in the amount of $47,726.56, and May 1st, 25-8, in the amount of $12,311.32 on September 26th, 2024, May 1st, 25-9, in the amount of $35,312.55, May 1st, 25-10, in the amount of $1,256.69, May 1st, 25-11, in the amount of $379.49, PR 25-9, in the amount of $133,392.79, and PR 25-9D in the amount of $73,156.40 on October 24th, 2024, PR 25-10 in the amount of $138,435.89, and PR 25-10D in the amount of $74,270.74 on November 7th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? You have a warrant, Julie? You can breathe.
Well, today
Yeah, you-
is a.
We don't want you turning white
stressful,
again,
Yeah, I don't know
so
what's going on, so I'm still a little bit.
take it easy.
Okay. It was moved to direct the superintendent of schools to authorize payment by the town treasurer to each party listed herein, the sum set against each name contained in school payroll warrant AP 25-12 in the amount of $78,247.86, AP 25-13 in the amount of $25,181.49, and SA 25-6 student accounts in the amount of $3,133.42 on October 24th, 2024. SA 25-7 student accounts in the amount of $5,137.23. AP 25-14 in the amount of $101,353.50 on November 7th, 2024.
Second.
Right, you get that in? Any discussion?
I just have one I don't see any 24s anymore, we're all done.
I would be disappointed if you didn't notice that. That is correct. As of this moment, you are correct.
Any others? All in favor? 5-0. Notification of hires, Donnie?
Lisa Murray as Ed Tech 2 at Stearns and Granite, $17.25 per hour. For hire 10/28/24. Barbara Pascal. Right, that's right.
Yes.
As an Ed Tech 3 at Granite Street, $18.34 per hour. Rehired 10/21/24. Patty Royce as an Ed Tech 1 at Granite, $16.38 per hour, hired 10/15/24.
Yeah. Okay, a motion for the following job descriptions, Donnie?
Move to approve the following job descriptions: library Granite Ed Tech 3 and library Stearns Ed Tech 3.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to make note that these are part of our continuing effort to update job descriptions. And so these are just the next two in line. These
Okay.
were done with conversation with the current employees in the position as well.
Melanie, do we, are we still using your certification at the other?
For library.
Okay.
Anything else? All in favor? 5-1. Strategic planning discussion.
Me?
You.
I just wanted this to be on, because we brought it up a month ago. And at the time, I, was telling you guys that this was put together by numerous conversations at the table that we just came from. A lot of contribution and conversation about like where we've been, where we're going. And knowing that it really takes a strategic plan in order to, continue to successfully move any organization, whether or not it's a business or a school. So I was just wondering if anybody had any comments, because this is a fluid document. It will never be static, or it shouldn't ever be static. Because that means that we kind of stop progressing, and we can't obviously plot out exactly the direction we want to go. But with our goals in mind as improving or educating children from pre-K to 12 in the best manner possible, having great facilities, being able to fully support adults and staff. All of those things should be represented. In addition to, I'm sure you saw a lot of the financial pieces that were represented in this document. I just know that it's not an exhaustive document. So if the option is still open, that you send emails or let me know things that don't quite sit well, or maybe I'm happy to even wordsmith. But if we can look out into the future a little bit, we'll be able to have a better idea of how we want to get there. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with making changes to it. So just was looking to see if anybody had any aha moments with it, and if you didn't, it's okay. Spelling errors, okay, got one.
Oh, no.
Aha.
I did an M instead of an N, I will fix that. Yeah, no, anything like that, but, I just, the team who was working on this, all the department heads working on this, we just really want it to represent the direction that we want to go, so. Yeah, what page is that on?
Oh, I don't know. I just thought it was some kind of a grant. I couldn't figure out what it was.
No, it's in wrong letter. I'll find it, okay.
Okay, it's on page 3.
Okay. Again, this is not intended to be a static document, so anytime anybody wants to discuss this, I'm always open to have conversations about it. I find it personally exciting because it just means we're moving the needle. in all other areas. So I really just find the document exciting as a guide, so we'll always be pleased to, do it. And, like, I guess just one other comment, like, there are some things here that are kind of like pie in the sky. They're like how we kind of want to head in that direction, and if we don't quite get it, then, that's okay too. It's still just a direction. So that's it. Thank you for listening.
Like it. I like the availability of it, I like the fluidness of it, and I like since I have a bunch of, goblins running around in my head trying to, I like the check off part of it, like, oh, we've touched on this, we've touched on this, it helps to, I think for me, it helps to keep things fresh in my goals and where we're moving fresh in my mind, because otherwise it will get shuffled up there in the dusty shelves.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on it? Okay, fall conference discussion? Kevin?
I thought it was good. I like the guy who was real interactive, that Ken, the guest speaker.
That
He
was
was real good.
awesome, that
And
keynote.
then I went to a workshop where they were, trying to get CTE to be able to give credit for English, math, and things like that. I also went to the one where the islands, they built a CTE,
Mhm.
and they went out to the towns and raised $25 million, so it's not cheap to build a school. What was the last one I went to? Oh, we all won some prizes except for one person.
Who shall remain nameless.
All went to what?
We
We all
all
won
want some-
prizes, door prizes.
Oh,
And,
We got 6 between us, I think, and
yeah.
Yeah, well, plus the one that I lost
I'm
by
counting
being
down.
2 minutes late.
Kevin?
I also went to the one on LD 436, talking about, earning credits at Stearns when they perform work at, Region 3. That was very interesting. I was able to attend 2 that were put on by Glenn Woodson, and they are always good at presenting things. Was able to go to one, they did a legal year in review, which is very interesting, and they did one on civil rights, including Title 6 and Title 9. And I've got some questions, when we do, some policy work in the future that we gotta talk about.
Excellent, good.
I also went to Bargaining's Basics, which was interesting. And the last day of the conference, I went to one on AI with Donnie. And they were presenting and Donnie whispered in my ear and tell me what they were really saying. So that helped me a lot on AI. But it was very informative and I'm glad I got to go. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo what everybody else said, and also, with the AI piece, I was able to go to some stakeholder AI, from the other side of things, rather than just general AI and implementing it in schools and all of the, fine tuning of that, but also how to use generative AI or AI in general to, meet the needs of to tell story with data, to meet the needs of your reporting, to, bring to meetings, to visualize future. It was super, super interesting. I love hearing about the positives of AI because it is such a, question mark, and not as regulated as it could be, but there are so many things about machine learning that are good. And, but that's the thing too, in the seminar that I found really interesting, I always do when they talk about AI, is that the learning part of machine learning is still there. So you can't go into it expecting it to be perfect right off. The teaching part, the human teaching part to the machine or the contraption or the AI is an incredibly important part. So the more you use it, the more, it was just super neat. It's just super neat. I could go on forever. And then Donnie and I went to a couple together, one of which could have been productive, but was less, kind of devolved into a less than productive, but it was well intended. It was a really nice seminar on positive, news reporting, positive messages coming out of your school, how to highlight what is being done versus what is being, because oftentimes we get that, the one, whether it's a big deal or not, obviously we should be looking at all things that are big deals, but you hear a lot more about what's wrong than what's going right. We have a lot to be proud of. We have a lot of educators to showcase and a lot of students that work so hard. So that was, in theory, a really awesome seminar that I'm glad that we both went to, but the the guy that was doing it was very knowledgeable, but it was his first presentation. And they just took it over with, like, the crowd, you know, like, well, what if somebody posts on Facebook this, and what if somebody says this, what do I do? And he's like, well,
He got taken over by.
I'd love to tell you how to say these things, like, in the news. You know what I mean, or to like share your good, you know, it kind of devolved into a.
Right.
People attack us on Facebook sort of thing, and it wasn't really what it was about. I felt really bad for him, but his content was great,
Yeah.
and his advice was great. Has been was a reporter previously, and now is part of the whole PR system with the school departments in the state of Maine, and he was really great, and it was a really informative on how to show off the people that are doing such a wonderful job for you, and how to show off what you're doing in school without, you know, proactively, rather than waiting for somebody to knock, because it's never gonna happen. Nobody's ever gonna knock down your door for a heartwarming story. You know, so anyway, I love that. We got prizes. We saw a lot of vendors. There were excellent vendors. The playground vendor is always my favorite, the adaptive play equipment. The first time we went, the guys spun me around in the giant egg thing until I had to excuse myself to throw up. And then this time I was able to bring back a huge catalog of stuff that I meant to bring actually to this meeting tonight, but that I was gonna bring and leave with you guys or with Louis, just to have for like reference. Like, he's a really sweet guy, really knowledgeable guy, and if we ever are looking into that part of
Shelley,
whatever.
well, Shelley Farrington is looking pretty strongly for Granite Street. So she might be a good person to
It's a
actually
big thing.
provide that to, because she's coming at it from different angles, looking for some like sponsors, looking for like to represent new type of equipment, so at like
Yeah.
less of a cost,
Mhm.
things like that. So she's kind of getting some tread, you know, and
Excellent.
getting some movement. She might appreciate that.
This company had the dude that I was talking, the man, sorry, we're in a professional, the man that I was talking about, is, comes out and does assessments and for space and things like that, and without a, you know, just as a, you know, it doesn't cost anything. And we also saw a really awesome booth, and I think Kevin Libby also saw it with us, the one about that has grants from the state that has speakers come to the school and things like that, about like, you know, safe driving. They do a lot of like student-led clubs. They help you start, you know, like, I think it's a partnership with the Maine DOE, yeah, and so that was really, really cool as well.
In vendors, I saw that pod, that was pretty cool.
We also sat in the pod, that was amazing,
Pod and you talk to the person across from you and you don't hear anything on the outside or very little.
but it's wide open.
It was,
So a student with trouble, you know, having trouble would be a perfect place to settle down, relax and hear.
childhood.
On the AI side of things that I went to, the thing that I took from that was the need for acceptable use of the AI. And I created a policy on acceptable use of AI, and I used AI to create it. It was great. So,
Yep.
came up really nice.
You know what was,
I've already given it to Dr. Warren.
I found that AI presentation that was interesting was, I remember when we started using, you know, calculators in schools. And then we go to laptops, computers and more technology. And there's always that, you know, even videos, I mean, there's always that, well, maybe this isn't a good idea. But somehow we've always worked them in and made it useful in education. And that's, I think, kind of what he's trying to drive into the AI. It's scary right now.
It's not going
You know,
anywhere.
we're trying to police it and this and
Right.
that, but
Doesn't matter.
it's just the way of the future and it's gonna be.
Microsoft, like we're gonna do that.
I
So
think
how did your Saturday go?
Huh?
Your Saturday?
On
Delegate.
Saturday. But I thought you said, how did your sanity go? And I was like, how much time do you have? It went.
Not to ask you.
My goodness gracious, like, where do you want me to begin? When I was in third grade, my brother said, so Saturday
I'm sorry.
prior to, we met for the Maine State Delegates Assembly to vote on changes to policy and things like that. Everything went really well. It's always tediously long because you have to prep everybody on how to use a voting app alongside their Zoom on two separate contraptions. Just visualize with me here how that goes, so that the vast majority of the meeting is that. However, there was a lot of talk about, there was a lot of going through and electing and stuff, and there were a lot of policy changes that were very quickly, gone over. There was obviously pause over gun safety in schools and the acceptable allowance of arms in schools based on lots of different viewpoints, the rural viewpoints, the non-rural viewpoints. From the kids' perspective, from a school security perspective, all of that stuff, there was just a lot of picking apart about that, like about what it could lead to, what is this language could lead to later, and, hindering our rights to do this, or blah, blah, blah. So anyway, everything passed the way that it was written out and the way that we talked about it, everything passed, but
What about,
We got an email today, give the results of the voting and all that.
all right, mine will be gone when I get home, so what about the mandates on the state mandating?
you mean,
Well, if they make a mandate, they're now supposed to come through the money, not expect the district to be paying for it.
right.
How did that go?
There was lots and lots of nuanced discussion about what that means for the mandates, what that means for, basically what it boiled down to was, I don't wanna say, like, I want to choose my language correctly because I don't wanna say empty conversation. But the meaningful points within those, as we were talking about all of that stuff, as far as like going over the mandates and going over, there was a lot more completion of things that aren't actually happening or that aren't going to happen. There was a lot of conjecture, it was an unproductive, it devolved pretty quickly into an unproductive conversation, which was unfortunate.
Makes me glad I'm you with that, I'm glad you were the one.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, I very rarely come off mute in those scenarios, like, but then we moved on to the AI portion of things. And I came off mute several times to be like, that word doesn't mean what you think it means, which, because I'm a delight to have at these meetings. So but that was another large discussion, large talking point. Why do we need it? Do we need it? Is there rules that we can put on it? The choice of adding the words digital or technological, or the nuances between what they mean, all of that stuff, so that we can put it into writing. So there was that, and yeah, those were the basic two big, everything else just went. But those were the two big talking points, and one of them was entirely unproductive.
What we'll do the last 5 hours?
It was about 4.5. It was longer than the year before last, when it was, I think we were able to cut it in like 3.5 hours that time, but it went from 9 to like almost 2, yeah, so like almost 2, so. Almost 5 hours.
Tell Joe, I did it last year, about 5 hours, and I got the biggest kick. There was 2 programs you had to kind of go in and out. And there was one guy there, much like myself, not me, but reminded me of me. He couldn't figure out how to do it. And so when they had to vote, it's all the state, going all over the state, they bring the camera to him and he'd raise his hand, yes or no, or he'd hold up a piece of paper. And I said, not right yet, but maybe in a year.
There's a lot
These
of people who
So.
who would argue over the use of technology in schools and then not be able to vote on their app, which was hindering them from doing their job, which I thought was pretty ironic in the general scheme.
I think the conference was well attended. The keynote speakers, there were different keynote speakers Wednesday for the superintendents, and then Thursday for everybody else. And they were really, really good speakers, as the state really does a good job getting that lined up. One thing that they do is call school board members to talk with them, to like honor the fact of how many years they've been there. So Mr. Gregory was one of the recipients for 12 years, or was it 13? 13 years. There were several that had more than that, but there were a couple that were like in 20 years or plus. There was a lot, so that was kind of cool. And you wasn't there, but your name was also called. Do we have a toy?
Lauren,
kid?
lean your phone on it.
You put your.
Oh, is that what it is?
I've been, we're trying.
I'm trying to
like,
think about
put the
what
thing-
this thing is.
Put your phone on it.
I got that for you.
It's a very
Thank
simple
you.
mechanism.
You
So,
knew, didn't you? You just setting it back.
Good job.
so this is a school board service award, presented, so the Public Education Advocates present this award to Warren Stewart, Millinocket School Board in recognition of 12 years of dedicated service to education and Maine. So had Warren been present with us, he would have also gotten this, and like I said, Mr. Gregory got one as well for, 13 years. So kudos to you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion about the phone? Did you have anything that? No, just that, okay.
Doug, what do you think about student representatives? So a lot of schools send them. We talked about this in the past.
We have, they're just, we actually talked about it this year too, not in this forum, but some of the representatives, I went over and talked to a couple of them actually, because I was interested in where they were coming from. Because for us, there's a, complication in young children staying overnight, hotels, adults they don't know, like, those things are the things that are prohibited in my view. If we really wanted to take a hard look, maybe we could have a custodial parent or someone go with a student. And then, we would have to decide what the value of that was. So the two that I talked to, one young man and one woman, they were
Thank you.
both, local. So like they weren't, one was coming from Hollowell, so just outside of Augusta. And the other one had ridden down that day with their, school board member from Damascotta, so actually drove up from Damascotta. So I think those are just our complications. Not that it couldn't be done, but it's something that we'd have to take a look at.
And some of those that do come are closer, so they're there during the day and they leave and not there in the
Right.
dorms at night. Student representative report.
So, Haley must be at a sporting event or something? We just don't know.
I'm not sure. She just got in.
Okay, that happens sometimes. So Madison Carr is our new member is from the juniors. Would you like Miss Peavy to talk about you for a second, or do you want to tell us how you got here? Miss Peavy. Would you mind introducing her as a student to all of us?
Yeah, so this is Madison Carr, and she is a junior this year. Madison will be missing a few meetings along the way because she is involved in everything.
Okay.
She's going to be a great member of the student body to have on the board. She has a lot to offer. She'll bring a lot, and I look forward to having her on this year. And
Thank you. And then you do talk the next part. Just if you want to tell us about you can tell us like word for word what's on your report, or you can just tell us a little story, whatever you want to say about. what's
So
happening.
the varsity field hockey team, I play on that team. We played against Dover on 10:30 at 6 p.m. We lost. The varsity football playoff game was against Ellsworth on 11-1 at 6 p.m. They won that game. Middle school boys are Eastern Maine football champions since 10/29. They played Holton and the score was 13-7. The pep rally was on 10/28, and the juniors announced the prom queen for Gatsby.
Excellent, thank you.
Louis?
I don't have a whole lot to report. We finished up a lot of big projects over the last several months, and hopefully I won't have a lot to report in the near future as we're trying to get back to all the day-to-day maintenance stuff and little things that got pushed aside while we were doing all the big projects. We've got the science labs that we're rebuilding, which will be months doing, and the intercom system and repairs to the big gym doors. We've got a lot of little stuff going on. They're no great. We're busy. We're getting ready for winter and changing over equipment and, all the day-to-day stuff. Which is nice to be able to finally have some of those big things done so we can kind of tend back to business as the day-to-day operations. Kevin would like to know, we're gonna be getting our first fuel delivery at the end of this week.
You're predictable.
Right on the edge.
Stretched it into November, so that's a good thing. Sometimes we have to get our first delivery in October, but, Mother Nature's been good so far, so. We still have the same price we had last year, so we're reset for fuel. Some good deal there. Other than that, I'm always here for questions. Anything you ever
You have
had?
no
need to know?
penalty for not buying enough last year, no penalty.
Nope, I think probably because the price was
The same.
equal,
Yeah,
that helped, but yeah, we ended up good.
Boy, did I see was still working on an elevator
No,
in one of your reports?
no, I had handed in the wrong report.
Yeah, wrong
before.
report
I,
last
the
month.
prior year's report, I had the dates confused, so yeah, elevators are done, functional, good. Okay,
You read it.
you read it, let's go, I'm impressed. You get points for that.
That's
Thank
right.
you. No other questions for Louis? Okay, Jan?
Jan is at the East Millinocket, meeting tonight because there was, I remember when she started, we were gonna have to swap off some dates. So this
That's right,
is
she
one
was
of
there
the,
last
one
time.
of the ones, yeah, she was with us last time, right?
Okay.
Yep. But she did submit this for your reading.
Following on a report, the joint, regional staff training. I thought that was a excellent idea.
Yeah,
Get together with our neighbors down the
That's
road
right.
7 miles.
that's
I
right.
know performing arts, sports, special ed, director, and now we're doing some joint training. I think they're all steps in the right direction.
Agreed.
The,
So much
the
agreed.
training was put on, Facebook too, so you can see a picture of, like there were door prizes and, part of the presentation, and there's just a little snippet so that you can see it was called the, science of behavior. So beneficial to regular ed, special ed, ed tech teachers, so good variety.
Like that. I just like to think all those things show we're making progress, working together, and hopefully we can find other ways we can cooperate.
Right, sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
My report went out before we had the final numbers for October, so predictably, I should share them with you now. Our teams served 6,069 breakfasts and 6,408 lunches, which is 1,203 more lunches than October of 21. So we really have kind of grown our little program, a bit, so I always like to check that, 'cause makes you feel like you're actually
That's
succeeding at
awesome.
something.
That's data.
Which is nice, data, I love that.
Quantitative data, I mean, I like to talk and I like the qualitative data, but quantitative data, you can't really argue with.
You cannot. Do not have an awful lot going on in our program right now. Getting ready to place another order, with Maple Lane Farms. We've used a lot of their burger and chicken already this fall, which has been really fantastic. The quality is certainly much, much better than what we've been able to serve in the past. So be placing that order probably tomorrow or what is today? Today's Tuesday, Thursday, but shortly. The new changes at Granite, the serving model is running pretty smoothly. We're able to serve our students a bit faster. You know, get them through, get them fed. We are experiencing a delay with these new salad bar for Granite Street. So instead of coming mid-November, as it states in the report, it's not going to ship until the end of November. But someday, somehow, we will have an additional salad bar at Granite. We do have one in place now that is working. But we do have to use ice packs and monitor the temperatures more than we would have to on a refrigerated unit, which is what is coming. There will be a great day when that comes along. I did want to go ahead and thank my subs. I have Kendra Cummings, Karen Morrow, and Chelsea Cram. And without them, we would not have been able to take our journey to Las Vegas. Jessica Freeman, Donna Siemens, and myself enjoyed. It was really a 2-day conference, but they bumped us out on either end because we traveled near the whole nation to get there. So we spent 4 days, did a little sightseeing, caught a few shows, spent a lot of monies, you know, Las Vegas is very expensive. You did not do a little gambling. But the 2-day conference itself was really fantastic. A lot of talk about food equity and what that means in our communities, food justice. Big learning moments about the impact of school nutrition programs in our country, where the second largest USDA funded food program in the nation, so SNAP, and then school food programs.
Really?
Yep, so it just shows you kind of the bigger impact of what we're doing for the children in our communities. And it was really great for Donna and Jessica to see and be there and be celebrated. Because that was the whole gist of this conference, was to celebrate the work that school nutrition programs and their monitors, cooks, cashiers, the whole kit and caboodle put into making sure that the children of our country are fed and can show up to class ready to learn. So it was pretty fantastic. And one huge takeaway, Chef Ann Young with the Chef Ann Foundation, she's the founder, and 15 years ago, she decided we have to change school nutrition, and we have to change where this is heading, and really started her work getting scratch cooking back into kitchens. And it just shows little by little, small incremental changes, and someday you end up where we are today. And she's had a huge impact nationwide, and through this Healthy Meals Incentive grant process, they've been able to touch so many other people. So just goes to show, you know, just
Ripples.
Keep a steady course, you know, even if it's not big progress, all change is really
All
important.
progress is progress.
All progress. Sorry for the ramble.
I think it's wonderful.
Sorry.
I think it's wonderful that you were able to celebrate with our ladies,
Yeah.
because I think sometimes it feels sometimes that they're not noticed, and they're noticed. We absolutely notice when in their absence, and it is not legal to have a school day without them.
This
You,
is correct.
you run a very important, a critical role in our day-to-day school adventure, so I'm glad that people were able to get together. And thank you for telling the story.
You're welcome.
I'm so proud of our school food program, not just because I'm so proud of you, not just because I'm so proud of of Donna and Jess and everybody that contributes. Everything that you've done, I don't know that I've talked about something having to do with the schools maybe as much, but definitely not more than I've talked about how much pride I take in you all and what you've been able to do, you and what you've been able to do. And the fact that the kids are, like, you can't, the reason it's illegal to not have school when you guys are gone is because, like, food makes everything run. The children don't run, their brains don't run, their health over time doesn't run without the care from our food service professionals, and you guys are just chef's kiss.
So much. Any other questions?
All the new tables working.
They're beautiful. They're so nice. And they're working just as they should. We're not doing anything extra.
You set things on them and the things sit on them and they don't fall off. I A+ table.
Our custodians are big fans of our new tables, probably more so than any other person ever. But they are really fantastic. And I did just want to take a second to thank you, Warren. So a lot of people in my position do not feel supported by their administration and their school board. And you have made a pointed effort to make sure to celebrate our small wins, our big wins. So I want to thank you for that. You set a great tone for the beginning of my journey. I do know that.
There's been any talk about offering free lunches, free lunches from the state. So they're doing that this year?
Yes,
Yeah.
we will do free meals for all until any legislation goes into effect to take it away. So it
Okay,
is
Yeah.
ours for the
That's
foreseeable
good.
future, and
that's good to hear.
it's a trend. I think there's 9 states in the country now that do universal meals for all. But it is, you know, there's teams lobbying for this every single day. Because it's about food justice. You know, everybody deserves equitable access to food, healthy food. So it doesn't really, you know, you can be food insecure and not qualify for free and reduced lunch meals. Maybe mom and dad aren't eating dinner because they're able to pack a nice lunch and breakfast for their child. So it really impacts the whole family unit. So there is a lot of work happening to make that a nationwide thing.
And we see that in the summer lunch program, that's what they get for good meals.
And that's grown over the last 2 years.
Yeah, the need does not disappear with this school year, unfortunately. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, Jared has, put in a report for you to read, and, he just wanted me to mention a couple of things, and Ms. Mayor, I'm not sure if you're mentioning the Promethean board. Okay, so that is, in response to the fact that some of our review boards are beginning to fail, and that's a real teacher tool, at Granite Street and here as well. They're used like every day, they're on all the time. So Jared was able to, contact a company and get a demo. And so the board is actually in Mrs. Waite's room now. And they sent a wrong piece of, I don't know, cord or electronics, something that goes with it. So that was supposed to arrive tomorrow. And then we will have it there for a week for her to do some playing around with, see what she likes, see, you know, kind of like troubleshoot it and see how it's gonna work. And then the sales rep is coming up to give anybody who wants to see it a tour of the tool. So that's kind of a cool thing. We had a technology meeting a little bit ago and kind of went through some of our ideas on getting rid of some old things. He's found some companies that would purchase them. So the whole idea of not having to pay to get rid of some of this old equipment is really a big deal. So he's working on those. And he ends with, most importantly, I'd like to personally thank Bruce McLean, Louis DeFrederico, and Taylor Slulander for their help and assistance in my military absence during the most important time of the year. While I was away, they ensured that the flow of instruction and education was not to be ruined by technology mishaps, as well as Mr. McLean being a massive and appreciated help in getting to know how things are going in this district. So he just wanted me to convey that out loud, that he really knows that he's supported here in this new role while he's kind of doing dual roles. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Tony too, because I know you've been called a few times. And
Johnny's name wasn't on here, but I hear ya.
you.
You can talk to him.
I know he's been called a few times.
He has. But he wants it to work. We know that.
Rhonda?
Good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can hear you.
Aw.
All right, can you see me?
At the beach, yeah.
We were having trouble with my video, wouldn't seem to come on. All right, my report's short and sweet. So the best part is year-to-date expenses for FY25. We've spent 24.38%. I did check back to last year to the first quarter. We'd spent 39.11, so we're actually down. Our revenue log since July has been 1,156,361 across all funds. The auditors came and went on October 15th. It was really busy for 2 days. I was exhausted. They gathered most of their information and left me the list of about a half a dozen items to scan and send. I'm down to just a couple that I need to send to them. During the last audit, the auditors recommended the district seek professional assistance to perform an actuarial involving future health insurance costs for retirees. The actuarial will assist the district with the future budget preparations and costs, and Nyhart was chosen to do the actuarial for the school district. The data has been uploaded to a secure website, and the agreement has been signed to perform the work, so it is underway. And MSMA, Maine School Management Association, is now gathering some data to sponsor a family paid medical leave plan to be made available to Maine school districts. The data is being used to seek an RFP. And because the statute does allow employers to substitute a private paid family medical leave plan in lieu of a public plan if we choose. Today's been they've been bouncing back and forth under the main ASBO business manager piece, and districts are on the fence with supplying the data, not showing what they're gonna do it or not, but a lot of them are waiting to see what will happen with the RFP, if there's any interest, if it's gonna cost districts more money. So it's a planning stage right now. And that's it.
Any questions?
Any questions? No?
Thank you, Rhonda.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Miss Mary.
We had our annual book fair that went really well this fall. We had a total of $8,494.21 in sales, which means that we had a little over $4,000 in Scholastic bucks that we'll be able to use to buy a variety of things from the catalog that they have, books, furniture, things like that that we can use within our school system.
I have to just say, that's a crazy amount of money coming in for a book fair.
That's awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah, Corinne does a wonderful job with
She
that.
does.
We had 51 families come to our family night last week. We had door prizes. We had 3 gift baskets that Corinne put together from the book fair for students. And we had 3 Hannaford gift cards for parents. And we also had a pumpkin full of candy corn, and kids got to guess how many candy corns they was in it, and the person closest to it got to take the candy corn home and show mothers and fathers like that. We finished the Main Through the Year assessment. I put it in chart form so you guys could see it. In the spring, you will actually get, they make a graph that I shared, but in the fall they don't, because it's just baseline data. In the spring, they do it in graph form. So I just kind of created it for you guys so you can see it. And I also did the same thing for our IXL, because that's the new program we're using now for math and reading. And we'll be doing another benchmark in January. Things that I have happened since my report is 4th grade had their wax museum last week. And this time we spread it out between the conference room and the gym, because sometimes it gets really loud and chaotic in the gym. It's not the best acoustics. And that seemed to work really well. We had a really good crowd of family come and go through the museum. The kids did a wonderful job. We had authors, we had scientists, we had people that were important in history, we had presidents and athletes. So it was a good combination of kids. And on Halloween, Mrs. Leach, Mrs. Reese, and Ms. Zoolander had another activity in the gym where for 30 minutes, every grade went in and they had Halloween tattoos, they had a dance party, they had relay races, and the kids really enjoyed that last year, so we did it again this year. So they did a great job helping out with that. And this Friday, our 4th and 5th graders are going to Holton to see Lost in a Mountain of Maine at the movie theater. We got a really good deal with the theater. They had reached out to me a while ago. We've been working on it, and they've been working on fundraising for that. And the kids get to go for $11 a piece. The adults get free admittance, and they get free popcorn and soda from the movie theater. And we've set it up so that the kids will go to the Holton school to have their lunch. They opened up their doors for us to use their cafeteria for their lunch. Great opportunity. And they also did some work with the person who created the film and the director and such, do a little piece, video piece with the movie. And they also provide tools that I've shared with the teachers that they can do with the students about the process of making the film. So it's a really good learning project. Any questions?
Hey, I have one.
Mhm.
What happened down here with our 5th grade?
There's new curriculum, and there's additional, professional development, which, part of that, identification for being on the SIPS list, required extra supports, extra, skill sets to be developed. So there's been a lot of professional development for the staff, which they've been very participatory in. And as you know, we bought a new math curriculum, so we hope to mitigate any additional low scores.
When you compare it
I
to,
looked at that and, if you look at from third to fifth in math and in, reading, you see, quite an increase in the percentage that performed at the average level,
Mhm. I was
which
just
is,
saying,
which is a,
Which shows growth.
which is growth. Yeah, it's a positive thing.
Mhm.
I mean,
I agree.
you can pick different places apart, but
if
there's
you
a increase.
Yep.
So,
Yep,
Look
I
at-
agree.
the number differences too between fifth grade, like, it's so starkly different between fifth grade
Yeah.
math and fifth grade reading that you know that there's another component in there where we've introduced, you can tell that the math is new, that, we're still in the adapting phase to the new curriculum and things like that, because it's not consistent over both subjects.
no,
The
state-
IXL testing is brand new too to us, so I'm not gonna look at things that I ready that we used before. Also, the teachers are finding that the rigor of the new math program is really high. And some of the skills that the kids are expected to come into, they haven't been taught because our math program was so old and behind. So the teachers have had to do a lot of figuring out how to differentiate for the kids but not make it too easy, so the rigor's still there, but fill in those gaps. So it's been a lot of work for the teachers this year.
There's a lot of really good resources with this new math program though. I was in the grade 2 classroom last week, and there's components on the view boards, there's activities for gross motor. They were doing counting by 2s and 5s and 10s. There were hand motions to go along with it. So all of those things help children remember and learn by having all the kinesthetic learning with it. The teacher also was showing me the support books that they had, because each child has a regular book and then a work at an extra, I don't know what it was called, but they had 2 books. And it was interesting because the conversation that we had was, there's a lot more reading in this math series. So we have to prepare children for the fact that numbers are numbers, equations, things like that. But there's also this point where you read about those. And so that was grade 2 classroom, and there was language skills needed at that. So those are all new things.
And I did have to upload and do some work with the numbers from last year to this year for our Title I grant. And one of the things you look at is individual growth of students. So they might not be at grade level, but did they make growth from the fall to the spring? And 100% of our 5th graders last year made some growth. It might have been only 1 point, but they all made growth. And over 90% of our 5th graders in ELA made growth. So that was really interesting to see the power of that.
Right.
But we still have a long ways to go, getting them up to grade level. Moving forward.
Agreed.
Any other questions? Nothing in for dinner?
Yes, right, another check in the positive column for qualitative data. Quantitative data, sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Collin? I wish Mr. Collin would get his hair cut, but
So, Mr. Cullen is unable to be here because he is at football practice. So,
where he should be,
that's correct.
I'm with that.
That's correct. So I told him I would cover his report per usual. So as part of our emergency management plan, both Granite and Stearns have completed a series of drills, and they've gone very well. I'm not sure what everyone has heard or seen out in the community. But we've heard some very positive feedback, and we have not heard anyone that was alarmed. I think the district as a whole did a great job getting the
gonna say.
word out.
The communication was with parents that had the app. Recorded messages when we were doing a check-in, like there were Facebook, there was plenty of, and anything that I did where people were like, why are there kids on the mission trail? Blah, 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 was immediately answered by another community member that already knew what was going on.
Yes, we got the same. So that was really good that our communication went so well. No one was alarmed. The cars were awesome on Central Street when we had to stop them for quite some time. So we did that kind of in sections of kids, so we didn't back traffic back up to McDonald's, but, it's gone really well. Staff is doing a great job in educating our students on the importance of why we're having these drills. And students have responded really well. So they will become eventually just the same old, like fire drills do, which is exactly what we want. So that's going well. I did want to touch a little bit on his report about the fall sports. I know that Madison has already spoken to that some, but our junior high field hockey team made it to the semifinals as well. They lost to Ridgeview. The football team defeated Holton, so they are now the champions. And high school field hockey, varsity field hockey did really well this season. And unfortunately, when they went to Dover, Dover won that matchup. And then where we are at with the varsity football, we have our Northern Maine Championship game this Friday at 7 o'clock against Holton. Holton beat out Orono last week, so our boys are doing really well. They're doing above and beyond the winning season. They are doing a great job this season of representing our district and representing our community. I'm very proud of them. I hope anyone that can be there will be there, because after we win Friday night, then we will go on the following week. Only it will be a Saturday afternoon game. I think it's in Kennebunk.
Yeah, at 2:30.
At 2:30 in the afternoon. So yes, that's quite a drive. I believe it will be on public television, but we'll find out for sure where that's being aired and we'll get the word out.
Once we win.
That's right. Well, we will win. Friday night after we win, then we'll start planning for the next week's game. So, and then he also mentioned the school app, and I think everyone has been really positive about the app, and how all of the information is getting out in a lot of different ways. It's really helping with our communication, which we've all talked about wanting to improve on. So I'm glad that word is getting out, word is getting around. And I hope that people who do not have students within the district will also start using it and find out what things are going on, because as you all know, we host many community events here at the schools. And so the more the word can get out, I think the better. So that's Mr. Cullen's report with my own additions. And now I'll get to mine. So I did not bring you data from the through year testing, because when I was doing my report, our high school classes were just finishing up, so I don't have all that data yet. The first thing though I'd like to highlight is our Veterans Day ceremony. That is this Thursday, the day after tomorrow. So the Katahdin region, the whole community is invited to a Veterans Day celebration. And so the National Honor Society students, of which we have one here, have been planning and putting together, helping out at Granite Street to get the littles prepared for what they want to do. They've done an excellent job. Our student council students are also pitching in. They're helping, they're buying the supplies for breakfast, helping cook and serve. So this is all kind of student led and student run. I'm just very excited about that. So they'll be serving breakfast for veterans and their families from 7:30 to 8:30 in the middle school gym. So a lot of our veterans in the past have parked out back and walked in because it's right there and it's really accessible to them. So I wanted to make sure this is being said again publicly. We've really tried to get the word out. You may see flyers posted all over town. And if you know a veteran, please let them know they are welcome. We would love to have them here. And then the assembly will begin in the high school gym at 9 o'clock, and it will be different this year, because it is student-led and student-driven. And so the vast majority of what we'll be seeing is either made from, performed by, or offered from all of our students across the district. So we're excited. I wanted to let the board know that Miss Mary and I are participating in TLN, which is Transformational Leadership Network. And so we got to spend a day going to Waterville. So we had a long drive to Waterville, spent the day together, and then had the long drive back. It was awesome. We were able to connect with other administrators across the state. This will be a year-long network, and I'm sure it'll extend beyond the year because we're making contacts, we're meeting people from other schools, hearing new ideas, what's going well at other schools, what isn't, those kinds of things. So I think that we'll get a lot out of that this year. Couple of things going on in classrooms. Well, the first is, I guess I should say about not in the classroom, but Mr. Leathers we've been working on putting together a trip to Greece in 2026. So he is working with one of our alumni, Alex Mooney, who works in Howland, and they are doing this trip. So they're talking about doing a joint trip with students and adults, and it's 9 days. So it's pretty exciting. He had just an informational meeting at first to find out how much interest we had, and then we found out that it is a lot.
Yeah.
So you'll be hearing more about Greece, and
Greece.
more details will be brought to the board, obviously. So that's exciting. I wanted to touch, I don't have this in my report, but I wanted to touch on AI in the classrooms, because I'm glad that you were all talking about that and sound excited about that. So I have been having numerous conversations with our high school English teachers, and we've been talking about AI, the use in the classrooms, how it can be beneficial, what are the drawbacks. So they have started working with some of that and working with their students a little bit, and they plan to continue doing that throughout the year, because we're hearing some very exciting things about AI. And as Julie pointed out, if it's used correctly, it can be a really beneficial tool.
I use it every day. I mean, not to say that, but I mean, most people do. But like, it takes some legwork to get to where you need it to be, but like, it really can be so, if the proper regulations are put on it, if the proper policy is created for it, if we have,
Right.
the only way to do that is to learn about it.
That's right. So right now they're kind of in the exploration mode of that, but I think a lot of it is proper training and students knowing when and how to use it, and also teachers putting in the right parameters for what it's to be used for. So I think as we go down the road, we'll see more of that. So I was just happy to hear the board talking about it. And then through our student-led conferences. So this year, I just want to quickly touch upon this, but we had talked about allowing students to have a voice in their conferences and in their education. So the district's been working towards that right now. We still have details to iron out and get everyone on the same page. So that's going fine. Any questions? Not on Mr. Collins either? No?
Can I just put in a little plug? Don't forget performing arts musicals coming up too. I know we're gonna have, it'll be before the next meeting.
Yeah.
Newsies, they're doing Newsies, the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, I wanna say, We start selling tickets on the 17th. I know that. So anyway, Performing Arts is doing wonderful things. The Newsies is gonna be so great. Little Granite kids are in it this year. So Mirren's over there in it. Like, it's such an awesome process. Everybody's like singing and dancing, and it's just gonna be the best time. So get your tickets when they come out. Because I said so. But also do it.
I have never attended a performing arts musical play, any kind of performance that we've done here at the school.
That has
I've
been
not
tremendous.
thoroughly
Yeah.
enjoyed myself, and most times you forget you're watching students.
Yeah, no, they're amazing. They're amazing. And they're all contributing so much, like what it's done for Lorelai over the last couple of years. How it's made her, more confident. It's just, we have such a wonderful, wonderful facility, and they use it to the best of their ability. And so it's like, it's nice to see it. We fill the houses all the time, so it's wonderful.
It is. Again, another great community event
Right.
that we're all together and enjoying what our students do, so. Awesome. Anything else? Okay, thank
Thank
you.
Somebody?
Yeah, right. So several of the things have been mentioned by others, tonight, so I'll touch on them and then add a little bit and leave out a few things too. So we did talk about the school board conference, and, as you expressed, there were a lot of, topics that you attended. I'm not sure if everybody knows that there's like there's more than 50, sessions, and everybody gets to choose what they want. So when you hear people talking about them, part of it is their own interest. I'm saying that for the benefit of others who aren't here. But some of the others, positive messaging, compliance, graduation coaching, comprehensive planning, special education, public engagement. So there were really a great variety. It was a wonderful conference. Also to go along with Ms. Peavy, to talk about, student-led conferences. We've been talking for months and months about how we invite parents or guardians in for transformational engagement with their child's learning, and how we involve the child's voice. So that's in our calendar, and that will take place on Thursday and Friday. And I have found out that the way we have it configured, which is to have Thursday be a full student day, and then conferences from 3 to 7. The next day, Friday, we were going to not have students present and have conferences from 8 to 2. That is not in compliance for a school day. That was brought to our attention. There was concern from the association. So I looked into it further and went back to the schools where we got the idea from, because we gleaned this idea from other school systems. It still wasn't feeling right, so I spoke with the DOE. The DOE says, no, that's not really right. So we're not throwing anybody under the bus. The idea sounded like a good idea. There are school systems that do it. We are not going to do it because it isn't in compliance. The DOE said that I could write a waiver. They would give it serious consideration because it was already in an approved calendar, but that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to do something that we know is not in compliance when everything else we do every day is in the effort of doing it right.
And to set a precedent.
Exactly. And he probably would give us the waiver, but again, we might want a waiver for something that we don't have any control over. We have control over this. There will be a message go out to all staff tomorrow, a message go out to parents tomorrow, and we will ask for students to be present on that Friday as an early release day. Other conversations are still happening, so we will make a quick decision on this now that we've learned that we need to. So the student-led conferences to get full engagement and to get student voice will still happen. We just gotta work with exactly what those times are gonna look like on that Thursday and on that Friday. And Ms. Peavy, Ms. Mary, the association, others are all working on how we can kind of like make that work, because unfortunately, it feels like a little bit of backstepping because staff have been working on what that was going to look like. Thankfully, we still have time to change it so that it will work for us. Budget talks have started at the weekly meetings, and most of that is because new evaluations have happened here in Millinocket. The tax bills are out. There's a lot of shock in some families, some households. So I just wanted to kind of like get my head wrapped around the implication here. I do quarterly conversations with the council and I try to explain what they're buying. What are you paying for? So some of you have seen those presentations. I talk a lot, but I tell kids stories, right? I talk about what kids are doing, what they're learning, how we're progressing. Because I think people who are paying taxes here in Millinocket need to know what they're paying for. What are you buying? It's like buying a pair of jeans or a new car, right? You want to know what you're buying. So that, we have that meeting set up for the end of the month. I think it is Monday, the 25th. So that'll be the quarterly meeting there. And I just wanted to kind of like, again, kind of put some of this in perspective because the town of Millinocket hasn't had a reevaluation done for a number of years, like many, many other small Maine towns. Not unusual, nothing wrong, but it added sticker shock to the new bills that went out. If you had a house that 20 years ago was a $40,000 house and you go 20 years and now it's a $150,000 house, you felt that in your tax bill. A lot of people I'm talking to, they doubled.
Yeah.
But with fair market value, which is the way the assessment is done, you now have a house valued at $150,000. You can put that on the market for $150,000. No, that doesn't help you when you're paying your tax bill, but you do have that new evaluation. We will see all the people this affects. We do not want to leave any group of people in Millinocket out as far as our consideration of what they're feeling. However, you also need to think about everything we do has increased in price. Every gallon of milk, every tire you put on your car, everything in your household. That's the same for our school system. We have already started plotting in what some of our budget numbers look like, because if you remember last year, the percentage of our budget that is fixed, when we start out with staff salaries, all across the board, staff salaries, we put in numbers for health insurance, we put in numbers for facilities. Those are static numbers. They have to go there. They have to stay there, what we've agreed upon. There is very little over here that we can massage and do and make choices with. Couple of examples, the state of Maine gives us subsidy, right? And they have revolving funds for improvements in construction. So per the DOE, the average of $270 per square foot for new construction in 2017. So 2017, right? 7 years ago-ish. $661 in 2024 due to inflation, labor shortages, and it created demands of imbalance. So the construction that happened years ago was significantly less than it is now. And that only makes sense with everything we know about the cost of things, right? So when we cost about how we're going to move forward, if you need new space, if we need some upgrades, we have to consider that all of those costs as well. In the statement here, the DOE fundings, they have X amount of dollars. At one point, they were able to do maybe the top 10. Now they're able to do the top 6. So, and that's the way that money is being distributed out of the state at the time. Okay, so there's that. The reevaluation, I wanted to just make the point, I think I probably already have said that we're looking at, for reassessment, looks at current market conditions, making your property value more in today's sellable prices. But we do recognize that that is a burden. And again, I'm going with the word sticker shock. You know, people knew there was a reevaluation going on, but didn't really know what it was going to look like. So as we start through this process of talking about budgets, we have a focus. And our focus has to be our mission, which is to educate our kids. Pre-K to 12, we want to educate our kids. So will there be some work that has to go into making this budget happen? Absolutely. A lot of conversations, a lot of things to consider, but we need to make sure that we remember that our focus is on our students. And I wanted to just kind of say at this juncture too, because it kind of hit me the other day. When we talk about how's education in your system? a lot of times people go instantly to thinking about high school. Because it's our high school kids that are getting ready to launch, right? They're getting ready to do military, to do a career, to go to college or university, and we're thinking, that's our kids. That's our kids that are graduating right now, 2025, we've got a group of kids getting ready to launch. Of course, we want them to be prepared and be able to do what they want to do. We also have the same obligation to our grade 2 kids. What year are our grade 2 kids graduating? 2035. 2035. What are you doing in 2035? What do you think our jobs will be in 2035? I think we just need to keep our feet focused on kids and all of them. Not just think about our high school kids, not just think about the class that's graduating, but we have a significant obligation to our kids all the way down to our pre-K kids. And so you could take any group. I just happened to pick grade 2 because the number made it work on the other end. But we don't know what they're gonna need. We can't keep doing the exact same thing with the same materials and prepare those kids for their future. That's part of the message that I'm giving to the town council in a couple of weeks. Because I understand that those tax bills hurt, I get that. I also know our mission. And we cannot responsibly do the same thing for those kids that we're doing for the others. We just can't. That's why we have new curriculum in math. That's why we have professional development. Do we want those same things for our kids all the way up through? We do. Middle school needs some new things, but you've heard me talk about that before. You know that I'd like to get something different in for middle school because they have different developing brains. We have to look at each of these steps. They cost money. So we have to think about those things. So this conversation is just to kind of like get you set up for what's going to be coming ahead, right? I don't mean to belabor it. Somebody else has already mentioned the success of the October 25th professional development. And I have a survey. Our communication committee has been working really hard to get the messaging out. We've tried to be real intentional with what we put out and trying to access information to come back in. We've had conversations that it's not communication if it's not two-way. So surveys are one way to have two-way communication. I don't have as many surveys back as I would like to have, but I'd like to share just a couple of thoughts with you from them. This was on the science of behavior, and we know that there's a lot of life circumstances out there for our kids, pre-K-12. We know some homes are stable, they don't have food insecurity, there's the right amount of supervision, there's the right amount of outdoor activity, we know that. But we also know that we have children out there who wonder what life is going to be like when they go home, right? So behaviors from all of those scenarios show up in our classrooms. So teachers have to continue to grow and learn even new skill sets in order to manage behavior that's different than it was a few years ago. So science of behavior. One of the questions here was, what did you hear that reaffirmed the work that you do? Empathy is not a weakness, it's a vital component of my job. Those who do not have it should be offered additional professional development. Let's say it like it is, right? We have a new group of kids. Reward systems work, a conversation about sympathy and empathy. There was a video played that this individual enjoyed, that sometimes it's finding the right person that connects with a student to help them be successful. How many times have we talked about relationships, right? Relationships. Another question was, what was an aha moment? While I have been implementing some of the strategies discussed, I realized that there are a few I've forgotten to use. I also keep trying to ask myself, does this student know the skill? Another question was, what would you like to have more of? I'd like to learn more about PBIS in my school. This training was valuable. I've heard positive feedback. Jan did a great job. I found the workshop very informative. I would be interested in reading more about science of behavior. Not to be rude, but I think I already understood most of what I heard today. how to deal with students with reactive attachment disorder. So the responses are all over the board. This was reaffirming for some, new knowledge for others. Then we had some, they did different things in the afternoon. Was your morning time good? 100% yes. Afternoon time, 100% yes in Granite. 87.5 yes at Stearns. Was the morning comfortable with Easton Medway, right? If we're going to talk about how we provide more offerings for our kids, we got to start developing relationships, and that's adult relationships as much as kid relationships. So was the morning comfortable with Easton Medway joining us? The answer was yes for 78.6%, 0 for no percent, so that's a good one. I don't know was 7.1%. That's a fair answer. We don't know that everybody interacted with everybody else. If they sat there and attended the workshop and they were fine, that's all right. I talked to friends or relatives, 14.3%. I met new people, 7.1%. We should do more of this together, 50%. So again, this isn't a complete representation of everybody. It is, what I have, but it's a move in the direction to collect information. We had a dropout committee meeting on the 22nd with robust conversation on how to support students in a variety of areas. Sue Buzzell reported that she spends a lot of time talking and guiding students. She shared stories and challenges. This committee decided to meet twice a year. Sue Buzzell, if you don't already know this, is a gem. She really does a lot of this individual reaching out to students, reaching out to families. I also know that there's members in both schools, both Granite and Stearns, that make no bones about it. If there's a kiddo missing a question about what's happening, they go knock on the door. That's good in a small community. That brings a couple of kids here to school because they don't want you to knock on the door. And it also gives some insight when somebody like KDD or Miss PV or there's several people that are quite comfortable doing that, and that's a good thing. And we've already talked about technology committee. We've already talked about Nyhart. So that cost is one of the things that will go into our budget. It's a non-negotiable number. Their retirees negotiated that a number of years ago. That number just changes slightly, but last year it was like $440,000. So that goes in there automatically, no matter what, that's not going away until the program ends. So those are some of those numbers that are just there. We just have to remind people that they're there. Sporting events and upcoming performances have been mentioned. Strategic plan has been mentioned. And I guess that's it. I had one more thing for the board, wondering there is a boardmanship training online from 6 to 7:30 p.m. on November 13th. I wanted to offer that if there was anybody who wanted to sign up for that. It could be individual or as a group. So that's November 13th, 6 to 7:30. You can let me know. I can send you all a text message. That offer just came out.
I got that email.
92.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
So if you've signed up for it, that's fine, or if you're not interested, that's fine too.
It's really productive.
They have it every year.
They do, yeah, I've attended, and it's, I probably will reattend, just because it's nice to keep abreast of.
Yep.
How boards as a rule are operating in the state and what, things are changing and all that stuff.
I wanted to mention too, with the reevaluation process, a Maine Revenue Service Property Tax Division does a wonderful flyer that you can just get right offline. It has a lot of very basic information, like what is a reevaluation? How does it affect my taxes? What is the effect on education funding? It's all, it even has some myths in here, that things that people believe that aren't true. So if there's people in our town that you communicate with, you might want to direct them to this. With that, I would like to say, Warren, this is the last time you will handle that gavel after you get through the adjournment, and it has been an absolute pleasure working with you.
Thank you. Any questions of Dr. Lane? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Warren, can we read the announcements before we adjourn?
Announcement. I actually, upcoming meetings are December 3rd and January 14th. Okay? Sorry.
Come on, sayonara, Warren.
All in favor? Like 5-0. Meeting adjourned at 5:54.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. So much. Always.